Thanks everyone for joining us. If you haven't already, and if you would like to, please feel free to go to www.menti.com. It's at the top of the screen. And you can type in that code, and I think we have it in the chat box also. And you can take a look at the Menti. We'll start with some questions, and we're going to go through, and you'll be able to answer, and we'll be able to see things live. So we're excited to try this out today. Oh, hi, Maisie. These webinars have been really fun because I can see everybody's name who's attending. Like Bray. Hi, Bray. He's been on a lot of them, so it's fun. It's fun to see people.
Good.
Not actually see them, see their names. The roundtables are better because you get to see everybody. The webinars, you just see their names. So, and looks like it's 12:01. We'll give it just another minute, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Again, if you haven't already, the menti.com at the top of the screen with that code, and it'll lead you through some questions, and we'll be able to get live information from you all and results, and it'll be really fun as we go through and talk to our special panel of camp people today. We've brought them from different areas of the country, and they're doing different things, so it'll be interesting to see what everybody has to contribute. Jeopardy song still in my head.
I feel like
shouldn't have started it.
Gonna not be a thing for this current generation. Like it's, you know, when Alex Trebek is gone, I feel like that's just not gonna be in our cultural references anymore.
May not happen.
He's never gonna be gone. What do you mean? So all they have to do is restart it from the beginning.
Oh, okay. All right. There we go. That
old trivia from whenever the first episode aired. Just replay it.
Sure. There'd be that one episode that you're really, really good at because you'd watched it all before.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us. This is the AEE COVID-19 webinar series. I'm Sherry Bagley. I'm the Executive Director of AEE, or the Association for Experiential Education. If you're unfamiliar with us, we're a membership and accrediting organization worldwide, and we work with all kinds of different people who work with experiential education. So anything from a K through 12 school teacher to a university professor, to a challenge course practitioner, to a researcher. We do students in preschool up to adults. It's great. So we bring all those people together under the umbrella of using experiential education practices. If you haven't checked out our resources yet, we've been working really hard during COVID-19 to provide resources to our community. We have these webinars, which are free. All of them are available online at our website, which is down at the bottom of the screen. And I'm sure Anna will put it into the chat also. And we also have a community resource library that we update continuously. It's full of really great information about how to get your program reopened, about fun things to do with your kids or other people's kids, all kinds of stuff right now. So if you have something to contribute to that resource library, please email Anna and she will make sure that gets in there. And again, if there are other things that you think we might need or other ways we can help you all right now, let us know. We're working really hard to make sure you all have what you need and all the information you need, and AE is here for you. So thank you. Today, we're doing a little something different with our webinar. We have a panel, and our panel today is all people from the camp world, because camps are making decisions very quickly right now since summer has begun. So we are privileged to have them with us. Let me see. There we go. And so our question today is, will we gather around the campfire? A panel discussion on summer camp decisions. And the fun thing about Menti is that some of these slides at the bottom, you can actually, as a participant, vote or put a question or thumbs up or thumbs down. The cat is just a cat. For whatever reason, there's a cat on there, but that's what that is. So again, this is menti.com, and it's kind of a fun little program. Our panelists today, and as I say your name, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little about yourself. First, we have Tony Vroman, Senior Director of Communications at Camp Andesonk. Is that right? Camp Andesonk? And Tony, will you tell us a little bit about your camp and what you are doing right now?
Sure. My name, like Sherry said, Tony Vroman. I'm the Senior Director of Communications with Camp Andesonk. We're located in Southern Illinois. We normally serve about 3,800 children during the summer, and then about another 2,500 children with our outdoor education program during the school year. One of the things that we're doing right now, we've canceled half of our summer, but we are staying optimistic towards July, and we're following our CDC and our governor's guidelines as far as reopen Illinois, as far as our directives. So.
Thank you. Next, we have Eric Starkweather. He's a lead instructor, child wrangler, and team teacher at Pioneer Camp with the City of St. Petersburg. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Sherry. Hi, everybody else. Nice to see y'all. Thanks for coming out today. So our camp is it's a day camp. We normally serve about 500 per summer, and we tend to have a lot of families that send campers back, week after week after week. We are actually doing a really scaled down version. We took everybody that had already registered by the time the decisions were made over the last couple of weeks, did a lottery, and we're able to serve, we have at our nature preserve, my camp, and 3 or 4 others, depending on the week. And each of those camps is going to serve 8 children for the week. So we're cut down by about 80-85% in who we're serving, but at least we're continuing to do what we can.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we have Laura Baird, who's the interim director for Polk County Parks and Recreation.
Hey everyone, I'm the interim director here, so I direct the summer day camp before I stepped into this role, and they haven't replaced me yet, so I'm doing it again this summer. Our camp is about 80 to 100 kids every week, the whole summer. It's more of a child care providing camp program, so it really wasn't up to me. The county manager said, what do we need to happen to have camp go this summer? I actually did my master's research at Camp Andesonk, so whoop, whoop. So it's been an interesting journey figuring out how to do this safely, and I'm excited to share what I've learned with you guys.
Thank you, Laura. And our next panelist is Erin Polisinski,
Perfect.
Camps Director at Camp Joy. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, Sherry. So I'm Erin, the Camps Director at Camp Joy. We're located in Clarksville, Ohio, which is between Cincinnati and Columbus. So we serve kids from the Cincinnati and Dayton areas for the most part. They're the kids who wouldn't necessarily go to your traditional overnight resident summer camps. They come from a diverse background, medical hardships and conditions, as well as things like foster care, children's services agencies. So we do a lot of partnering with different agencies rather than just recruiting specific families with what we do. In addition to our summer program, we also run an outdoor school program during the school year for students in the area. And then we have a kind of a team building leadership development program as well. We see about 13,000 participants throughout the year.
Great, thanks, Erin. So that's who we are. And then we just want to find a little bit about what you all are doing today. So what work setting do you identify with? And we'll give you a couple minutes to answer and see how this works. And the little person at the bottom tells us how many people are responding. So it's kind of fun too. Great. Oh, we got one traditional overnight camp person with us. Awesome. All right. And then our next question for you all is your program reopening or has it been open? Either one that works for you, but is your program reopening right now? Awesome. A lot of no's. And then how are you feeling about the opening options for your program right now? If you are opening, what's that feel like for you? And if you're not opening, what's that feel like for you? So. A lot of anxious folks. That makes total sense right now. Great. So I'm going to start asking some questions of our panel, and then what's going to happen is they'll give us their answers, and then we'll move on, and Menti will give you an opportunity to kind of answer. Hopefully this will give us a good broad spectrum of information and help us all out with decision making. So the first question I have for you, panel, is what resources are you using or did you use to make your decisions about your camp opening or reopening or staying closed?
Who wants to go first?
Laura, you want it?
Sure. Okay. So like I said, our county manager basically asked me, how can we have camp so it's safe for the kids and safe for the staff, because our community needs the childcare. I forgot to mention I'm in Western North Carolina, and it's a large county, but the number of people is small. There's 18,000 people in the whole county, and we are as far as childcare in the summer. There really aren't camp options in the county, except you go to Hendersonville or Asheville. You have to go out. So we are it. So we had kind of had to offer it so that parents could get back to work.
Thanks, Laura.
We're kind of similar, but on a larger scale. I'm in Pinellas County, Florida, which is in the Tampa Bay area. And we have about something like 1 million people in the county. We're the densest county in Florida. And our city leadership has been pretty moderate to conservative about reopening businesses and things like that. But the discussions were very much around being able to offer some kind of childcare for people that need it, particularly first responders, et cetera. And the director of Parks and Recreation, or the recreation superintendent, they said that they relied heavily on some guidance and guidelines that the Parks and Recreation Association developed. On my level, what I got was about a week ago, handed down on stone tablets. Here's how we're going to do it. But that was my understanding of how they came up with all the with all the guidelines was the Parks and Recreation Association.
And then with Camp Joy, we made the really difficult decision last week to cancel our in-person overnight summer camp programs. The resources we used for that, really, we relied heavily on guidance from state and local health departments, the CDC, the American Camp Association's field guide for operations was huge for us to start digging through that and seeing if what we had already reimagined or put into place or made assumptions about were along the lines of best practices and everything. We also did all of the things that everybody's probably doing, reaching out to legal counsel, chatting with our board of directors, making sure that we've got the pulse of our local area as well. If they weren't feeling good about reopening, we didn't want to be that first one back kind of thing as we look to do that, and just how we can keep it safe. Were there hot spots that we were anticipating coming up, and all of those big medical things that definitely are a factor as we look to reopen and everything. So that's really where we were. We chatted with some of our partner organizations because we serve kids with a high risk of medical conditions, that it really, we had to take all of those things into consideration, but the list could go on and on. I think you can just keep digging to figure that out. But those were kind of our big points of what we did as we made our decision.
Yeah. Thanks.
Camp Onassauk, we're located in Southern Illinois. Very similar to Aaron, we're ACA accredited in the sense that we've been using the field guide to work on our emergency preparedness plan. We've also been working with John Carr, who is a professor at the Southeast Missouri State University, for emergency preparedness plan and looking at mitigation programs and how we're going to implement those with Camp Onassauk. Like I stated before, we've closed our first week, but we're trying to stay optimistic about July. So.
Great, thank you all.
Really quick, Sherry, I forgot to mention the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services put together a COVID guide for day camps, and so that has been really helpful for me to, like, that was the thing, like, open day camp, but do all these things too. So it was kind of a really nice roadmap for me. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, like it had already been like a checklist. So it's really helpful.
Great.
And that ACA field guide is also, you don't have to be an accredited camp to use that. So that's a huge resource that's out there with best practices.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. So what are you all using for resources? Is there anything different that you have used, or other thoughts about? I know some people have put things in the chat already, but if there's other resources, feel free to populate them into Menti. And this portion will also be recorded. We can record these things so we can provide this to everyone afterwards too. So if there's something else that you have used, then you can type that in. Great. Awesome. All right. Moving ahead, and Tony, I'll direct this one to you first. How did you, or how have you been communicating with campers and parents and your camp community?
We keep a running blog with information on the front page of our website, and then we've also been distributing from our executive director a weekly update, just to try to keep interface with our constituents. The other part is just trying to stay active on social media and coming up with virtual programs and components that we can do as far as interaction, and really kind of staying in touch with our group. So.
Great. Aaron, is there anything you've been doing different?
I think just, we definitely have started highlighting our social media more. Oh goodness. And So we use that. We've done specific email communications with our camper parents as well, just to make sure we're reaching out and communicating those things as it relates to changes in schedule and then eventually the cancellation. So that's really what we've been doing.
Laura?
We have added a page at the back of our letter that parents get when they sign up their kids that is an agreement that they will keep their child home if they're sick. Countless times in the summer, because it's childcare related, they'll, if the kid wakes up with a fever, they give them a Tylenol, send them to camp. When that wears off, then we have to call and they have to get picked up. So we're trying to just communicate that that's not okay. We can't do that this summer. We have to have an abundance of caution. So to do that, I've had this parental agreement so that they know that we know that they're not supposed to bring their kid to camp when they're sick. And then we've been using our social media a lot. I've been trying to put out a video every day, especially like when our other programs were canceled in the spring, just to kind of have more of a presence in the community so they know who we are, and remind them of where we are and that we care and that we miss them. So that's not getting to everybody. So I'm putting in a little article in our local newspaper as well, like a little blurb about camp opening and if they have questions to call us.
Thanks, Laura. Eric?
Well, I'm kind of lucky in the sense that we have an administrative team that handles much of that stuff directly, but they have, since we are operating on a lottery system for those that were already registered, they've made calls to every single family that was registered and just had phone conversations to explain the choices. The larger, city decisions were communicated out, via, there were articles in the newspaper and social media, things like that. And we're going to continue to do, education and communication at drop-offs, because we have a lot of our families have been bringing campers to camp forever. And they're sort of, sometimes when things change, we have a little bit of a hard time making sure that those changes have been absorbed by our veteran families. So at drop-offs and pickups, we're going to have some, just some boards up to explain, and we'll be talking face-to-face with folks as well. We have some unofficial, there's some like friends of our particular camp maintain a Facebook page, so there'll be discussions there as well. But that's not like official sanctioned stuff. That's just kind of communication amongst families and such.
Great, thanks. So what all have you been doing out there, our attendees? We have a couple different options, and if you have other and you want to add it to the chat, that would be great too. If you've been doing something else that might help other people. So let us know what you've been doing. Cool. Several others. Nice. Yeah, my children go to a summer camp here in Florida also, and I received a phone call from one of the board members from the summer camp because they had canceled it. And I thought that was a really great way to utilize your board, and it was a great way to, they were lovely, and they were asking if we wanted to donate our camp fees that we'd already paid to the camp for the summer. That was an option, or donate a part of it, or have it refunded or used for next summer. So all those things, it was really good. I was impressed that they had done that. So kudos to you all calling people, because that takes a lot. Great. Thanks, everyone. So for those of you opening or thinking about opening, what safety protocols have you put in place? Laura, you want to go? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'll say a name so it's not so awkward.
Fun. Yeah, make it easier. Okay. So we normally have 4 or 5 spaces in the gym that we rotate through. We have a building that's almost 100 years old, and so we'll cram all the kids in the gym for a morning ceremony, and then the age groups will split up to their snack areas, and then they'll visit the different rooms throughout the day. So this year we are splitting up the camp actually in half and having half at the local middle school. One perk of being in such a small county is everyone knows each other and everyone's willing to partner with each other. So for the whole county, we have 1 middle school. So we're going to use the 9 to 14-year-olds are going to go there for camp, and the 4 to 8-year-olds are going to come here for camp. And we are limiting the numbers so that there are between 8 and 10. I'm trying to find out what the final rule is. With 2 counselors in one room, it's going to be their home base. So they'll have their own opening ceremony in their own room, and then they will go to the gym and then back to that room and then go play outside and then back to that room. We're going to try to spend not too long in that room, but utilize our outdoor spaces more. So we have the group sizes are small, they're not going to mix up. That way, if someone does come with a fever, we only have to have that group isolated, quarantined at home if they have a positive result. Every morning we're screening for temperature. Our emergency operations person got us these infrared thermometers, so we don't have to actually touch the kids. We could screen them every morning. It's a day camp, so we have to screen them every morning and ask for symptoms and things like that. We're going to have hand sanitizer everywhere. All the counselors are going to have a little bottle. We're actually adding a sink outside so they can wash their hands out there as well. Because it's such an old building here, there's only 1 sink and toilet for girls and 1 sink and toilet for boys, and then a sink in the art room. So we're adding another sink, so there's 4 hand washing stations. So we're trying to keep those group sizes down. The local distillery actually made hand sanitizer for the county, but it's liquid. So we're using these spray bottles from the dollar store. If we can't find enough of the gel, we're going to just spray that on their hands, and they could wipe it. Some of these guidelines that we're following from the health department, we are not letting the adults in the building. We're going to do all the screenings outside. If someone does get sick, they have to stay home for 3 days instead of 24 hours before they feel better, or after they feel better, sorry. And we're going to have that in an area outside instead of in the office. Usually if a kid's sick, they'll come up in the office. We have a mat we wipe down, after they leave, but we'll have that set up outside just in case. I'm in the break room right now for our counselors, so we're going to be creative. That's part of our training. We could talk about that later. They're going to kind of create a new idea about where they're going to take breaks, so that we're trying so hard to keep them separated. It would be silly if they then took their breaks all in the same space. So we are still inventing that, but I'm going to kind of put that in their hands. Instead of me telling them where they have to take a break, they're going to get to create that. All of the toys we're going to use are ones that can be cleaned. I bought these so the counselors can have these with them, and they can have some chill out toys with them instead of, again, sending them up to the office when they need to calm down or just get away from the noise. So they'll kind of have their own set of chill out equipment that we can wipe down every day or as often as needed. The mats, I bought mats for the kids to take naps on. We'll be able to wipe those off and clean. So it's kind of been, what can I sanitize, not use the things that really can't be sanitized well, and rotate through the toys and things like that. So it's a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I love that you had your props to demonstrate. That was great to see.
I ran around right before the call and got them all.
Awesome. Eric, what safety protocols are you all putting in place?
All right. Well, thankfully, we're already a mostly outdoor-based camp, so I feel kind of lucky in that regard. But we put in a number of things. So we're cutting our attendance down to 8 campers and 2 staff for each day. Our staff are going to rotate through in a week, and we're making sure that drop off and pickup happen outside of our buildings. At our nature preserve, we have a nature center and then 3 buildings on different sections of the preserve. Each one of those buildings is hosting a camp with 8 campers and 2 staff. So everybody has, access to indoors when necessary. And that kind of determined our capacity is the number of indoor options. We are, as we said, keeping parents outside as much as we possibly can. We're not going to force them to stay outside. We can't refuse access, but we're going to ask them to stay out, and taking temperatures of everybody, staff and campers, every morning. Anytime that we're communicating with the public, we're going to be wearing masks. So we have, the federal launch program our city administers. So we'll have that part. Occasionally there's people from out in the community that come to our camp to pick up their lunches. And of course, any drop-offs and pickups, we're going to be wearing masks. Eating lunch outside, often we will come inside to kind of get a break from the heat, so we can get some AC time. So we haven't totally decided on that. It gets pretty hot, so I don't know if we can stay outside all the time, but I think inside we'll probably do things like maybe keep doors open so we can get more airflow through the building, and other things like that. We're gonna have regular cleaning schedules, every hour at least that we're in the building, and then after every use of the toilet facilities, we're gonna have a cleaning protocol for that. Let's see. Also, some of our camps go on field trips. Those aren't happening this year. One of the things that I've been paying attention to is, okay, so when a camper does fall ill or show symptoms, they have to be picked up immediately. And so we're setting aside, designating waiting areas outside to do that. We have a covered porch, so we get rain in Florida pretty much every afternoon in the summer and some other times. So we have to have ideally places that are outside but also protected from the elements. The covered porch works really well for that. But we've been talking about how can we normalize the idea of feeling ill and going home so that it's not like this additional level of trauma that this poor child has to suffer through. So we've already been talking about, how can we, from the beginning of the week, just talk about hey, everybody gets sick. When have you gotten sick before? And, what's it like? And be able to get people to talk about that. So in the event that I'm sure it's going to happen, that somebody goes home with some kind of symptoms, that they're going to be home for at least a couple of days beyond the end of their symptoms, and that is often a big blow to them. They're missing camp anyway, and so we're going to try and find ways to make it so that that's not an additional level of stigma that they're feeling from being the sick kid that got everybody infected. So we're trying hard to avoid that.
What about making cards?
Making cards for people. I love that, Laura.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done. I'm good. Yeah.
There we go. So
I love it. Perfect. Yep.
Eric, I'm gonna move us forward just because we have some more questions. And Tony and Aaron, I'm gonna skip you guys this time, but let you answer the next one and skip Laura and Eric the next question, if that's okay with everyone. just so we get through all these questions. But for our attendees, and I know this is kind of small, but there were a lot of safety protocols to take a look at. But what are you all doing? And it doesn't have to be for your camp, but for your program or at your school, what additional safety protocols are you all putting into place?
Oh, we also are testing all of our staff for COVID-19 before they start the summer. Another perk of being a small county, knowing the health department director personally.
Yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, it looks like some people are doing that too. Good. Yeah, I was thinking about the hand washing at camp and the sanitizing of everything. Just how much work that could be, especially
Camp
with
it's
one
gonna take on
sink.
a new meaning.
Yeah. Great. Thanks everybody for responding. It looks like everybody's doing a lot of changes, a lot of additional safety protocols. So Tony and Aaron, if you're when you do plan to go back, and what kind of additional staff training are you planning on providing for your staff?
We're definitely planning on that. So I think the biggest thing that we've talked about that we're working through with our staff is what the new normal and the new expectations are, right? We get that camp, like I just said, camp clean, you know, there's often a badge of honor around like, oh, I didn't get to take a shower today and all that stuff. We need to change that idea. We need to be really on the lookout for keeping things clean, not just ourselves and our hands, but the spaces as well. So we've talked about, it's a lot of training around, here's how we sanitize, here's when we sanitize. This is the expectation of, if your group uses this in the Arts and Crafts Center, here's how we'll do that. We've reworked pretty much every activity to include these sorts of things, whether it's you know, at the Arts and Crafts Center, that we've got individual paintbrushes for each kid, and those are kind of becoming a single use, and they're creating now a kit that they take home with them of art supplies rather than us tossing them or anything. That those are options for sure. But really it's around that, why this is necessary, and getting their buy-in on that. That's really the additional piece of that we're looking at.
Great, thank you. Tony?
We've been working on a lot of different exercises with our staff, a lot of which is based on activity leaders with their cleaning exercises and the protocols that are put in place. But one of the things that I've been working on a lot with staff is what we call tabletop exercises. And, you know, for the worst case scenario, somebody coming down with COVID-19, and we have these guideline cards that are small, and they can be put on a clip binder, just, you know, hooked into their particular piece with a carabiner. They're laminated, they're small, but they have basically step-by-step guidelines, just giving them examples of what to do with those procedures and how to move forward, how to take that individual to the medical center, how we need to identify individuals that person has come in contact with, the areas that person might have come in contact with. So to basically walk through the entire process and ensure that it's involved within the training element.
Great. Thank you. Laura, and do you have anything to add to that? I know with
so it was already in the plan for this year to close camp for a week to give my counselors a chance to recharge and sort through all the toys, clean the facility. So we are doing that again this summer. We're not doing it again, but we are still starting it this summer. So we have a week off, and it's the week after July 4th. So we're not offering care. We're communicating that now, but and then the staff who needs hours, they can come and help clean and sanitize everything. And we're also using, the ACA has a training session, like a free webinar on sanitation procedures and outbreak prevention. And so I'm going to include that in the training before camp starts.
Thanks. Eric, did you have anything to add to that one?
Just that I'm taking notes. Our staffing model is a little different than a lot of others. We have just a few people that are mid-career, pretty experienced, and a lot of our stuff happens sort of informally. So we routinely share resources that each of us has found individually, and then, you know, when we find something that is working extra well, we'll share that, you know, with the larger, the other instructors at the nature preserve. But nothing significantly different than what we've heard from the other panelists here.
Okay. Thank you all. So now, attendees, now it's your turn. Will your program provide additional staff training? So if you know, oh yeah. Great. I like these little dots. This is fun.
Those are cool.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to go back to Erin for this one. What innovations have you made to your programs?
Tons. Innovation maybe is a strong word for it, but we've definitely done a lot of shifting. So we are exploring a virtual camp option, but in talking with our partners and our parents, realizing that more screen time isn't always the best thing for them. That's not how they are feeling. It doesn't mean it doesn't work anywhere else, but for us and our population, a virtual option is going to look a little bit different than kids sign up for a week and they have all these activities throughout the day. But we are exploring that, putting together some really cool interactive stuff, still reaching out and tapping into our camp staff that we had hired before we made the cancellation. I'm really looking to use them so it's not just myself and my manager's faces, because it gets boring seeing the same people, right? So we're looking or really developing a lot of those things, shifting a lot of our focus to how do we take this and make it a virtual activity. Whether that is, we do the Camp Joy beat is a big thing, and it's a clapping and pounding on the tables. So we've already got the video of our staff leading kids through that and everything. That's been really fun to watch them reimagine those things. And then as we get into June, we've got some more things planned. But the other really cool thing is that we are developing our on-the-go program. So that is us taking camp to some of our partner organizations or an area where we actually have kids somewhere else. So Boys and Girls Club, the hospital, that sort of thing, being able to be in there and have that camp experience. You know, the experience, camp is a place, but it's also that experience. How do we take that and really replicate it? And that, it's sticky, it's hard sometimes, but we also have really great creative staff who are saying, here's how we do that. Here's how we do a candle chat. And so it's been awesome to look at those things. And then we've just reimagined like every in-person activity. Is there a different way to do it? Is there, when we get campers back on site, whether that's for weekend programs in the fall or next summer, we're going to have to make changes. So how do we do it differently? What could change? What makes it safer, cleaner, easier to run? All of those things, everything is on the table. There's nothing off limits, which has been really fun to watch our staff tackle.
Great, thanks, Erin. Laura?
So every summer during training, I get 2 days of training with these high school and college kids, and I try to give them ownership over a part of the camp. So last summer we had clubs, and I gave them each a club to plan out the whole summer. So instead, this summer I'm going to give them our game list, and they're going to reinvent the games for social distancing. So capture the flag, maybe use dodgeballs instead of tagging the kids. So that's one thing. I am also getting creative with our gear. So I found like little carpet circles for the 4-year-olds to be spread out on, give them kind of zones and areas. Those gym dots, those rubber circles, I'm going to get some of those to use for different games so that to make it more fun and kind of gamify the distancing part. I'm also working on collecting like the cardboard boxes from appliances. And each kid is going to get their own box, at least in the younger set, and they can decorate them. And it's a lot of the same kids all summer. So then they can just play in the box. Like they can read in the box, they can, do whatever. They have a box. Like literally, they're separated from the other campers. We'll see. I
experience.
If it doesn't work, we'll just recycle it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Tony, what innovations have you made to your programs?
Sure. As Illinois moves into phase 4, we're allowed to serve groups of campers of 50 or less. And so really readjusting our program to try to fit that model has been challenging, but kind of like Aaron said too, is earlier, that it's innovative as well. So some of the neat things is just kind of looking at how to distribute meals, how to make hand washing fun as another part. On a more virtual element, due to the fact that we have canceled the first 4 weeks, a couple years ago, we introduced a program called On to Sonk Online, and it basically is a virtual week of summer camp. So it involves everything from our making foil burgers on Wednesday night, our marathon on Friday, and just teaching camp cheers, doing things along the lines of handicrafts where you'll have a Zoom meeting and kids will get a chance to make boondoggle. So just try to really implement both sides as far as having different ways to interact with our campers.
Thank you. Eric, what innovations is Pioneer Camp doing?
A lot of this answer is TBD. We just got the guidance. Like, I just had a meeting yesterday that gave us the full details of what's happening at camp, or what we're allowed to do. I think what ours is going to look like a lot is building on a tradition that we already have of having meetings to kind of hash out issues that affect our campers. And so we are likely going to come in with our typical list of things that we do at Pioneer Camp, things that everybody has come to love, from blacksmithing to archery to building force to just having kind of unstructured free time to play, sword fighting with sticks, that whole gamut of things, hikes, whatever. And with only 8, it's a perfect size for a small group meeting to get everybody, bought in on, okay, so what are the things we have, 35 hours of time this week, got to stop and eat lunches and, clean. But other than that, here's all this time. How do y'all want to spend it? We've done that successfully with shorter camps and some of our off-season camps, like holiday camps, when we generally have smaller numbers anyway. It tends to work really well where, the campers feel really bought in because they are, they're getting to choose, so we're giving them a high degree of choice in what their weeks look like. And we give them some boundaries, we kind of set the options that they can choose from, with a few exceptions, but it gives us the room that, if somebody has a crazy idea, we can say, yes. That was one of the things our camp was built on, is finding ways to say yes and limiting the no's that we use each week. And so ours is going to look a lot like just changing the boundaries slightly based on the health department guidance, and then giving room to our campers to create and choose within those boundaries.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Now back to you all that are still with us. What new innovations have you made to your program? Going virtual, lots of virtual camps happening. Ooh, recreating 90% of your programming. That's a lot to recreate. That is definitely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. I know we had some really good questions in the Q&A, so I'm gonna take a look at those, and we can move forward with that. Oh, not time yet. Not time yet. let's see. How are you managing adventure activities like canoeing, belaying, or sitting around a campfire? Is there anyone that would like to take that question? Is there anyone doing those activities, I guess?
It does. I mean, it doesn't really apply to us. We don't really do that stuff yet.
We actually offer that programming. One of the things, obviously, that we're looking at probably closing our high challenge course, but keeping our low challenge course open, partially just because of the cleaning procedures that have to go in behind each time of use with a group. When we look at something like canoeing or kayaking, it comes down to additional sanitation process that goes into play between each group that will come in and utilize the equipment. So.
Great.
I think it's just working in how do you space people out, right? So campfires, is there the possibility to do it individually in a little pod of the cabin group or the camper group? It doesn't become that big all camp thing. Or if you've got the space, is that a possibility to set pods kind of out and around, even further distanced and everything? There's possibilities, but at Joy, we're really looking at that smaller pod model. More individual stuff.
Okay. I know that the Climbing Wall Association is looking at figuring out how to disinfect climbing walls in a quicker way, and the ACCT, the Association for Challenge Course Technologies, is also releasing some information about how to disinfect your challenge course. You know, many of ours are outside and they're wood, and they're, you know, it's interesting. So, but those are good resources right now for people who are in need of that kind of information. Roberta asked, is equity a consideration in your opening? And is SEL, social emotional learning, a consideration for opening?
So as far as equity, like, again, it was a matter of these parents need the childcare, so we have to figure out how to open it and make it safe for everybody. So as far as, I don't know if you'd call that equity necessarily, but I mean, it was definitely like, we need to help take care of these children. And for social emotional learning, that's definitely something we're trying to think about as we talk to the counselors about how to talk to the campers, like the expectations they should have for behavior, and especially the first couple weeks, if they're coming out of being home for months and being disrupted, having their whole lives disrupted. Like, yeah, try to talk about empathy and how these kids, where these kids are as they come into camp, is a different place than they usually are. So we are addressing that.
Anyone else have thoughts on equity and social emotional learning in your opening decision?
Yeah. Oh, so we also are doing free lunches this summer. It was kind of a, let's use this opportunity to introduce this thing we wanted to introduce. So it reduces the amount of things being brought from home, but also creates a level playing ground. We're not selling snacks anymore, so the kids aren't crammed in line. So there's no kids who don't have the money to buy snacks. So that is something we're able to put into place, and I was hoping to put into place, but here's the perfect chance to get rid of this thing that isn't a good idea. That was happening before I got here.
Great.
When it comes to equity, that is something that I think our program is, particularly with these changes, that our program hasn't done particularly well. We our nature preserve is located in an area of our city that is, you know, that has much higher population of Black people than white people, and our attendance at our camps does not reflect that. So that's been something that we've been really working to change, and I feel like this, you know, the COVID-19 changes have sort of have just put all that on pause. We've had to work really hard to reach out and make connections in, you know, like traditionally Black churches and places like that to say, hey, the things we're doing at this nature preserve are, you know, available and interesting, and you're welcome. But building those relationships has been going slow, and a lot of the people that have come in and have needed scholarship support, they've been brought in like later in the registration process, because the way we did our registration this time was everybody who was already registered got to be involved in the lottery. That effectively cut out the people that we were trying to reach out to. So it's really frustrating to me that we don't have very good solutions for that right now. Yeah, it's really frustrating, and that's something that we're looking to improve, but it feels much more difficult with the model that we were using and the changes that are happening. So I don't know what the answer is for that yet. As far as social emotional learning, that's been built into our camp as sort of a regular feature of it. So that's not gonna change much, but it's centered around our kind of collaborative decision-making models, and we have a real limited set of rules that kind of allow for that.
I was going to mention too as well, with Camp Onasunk, we've involved ourselves with partnering with SIUE, Southern Illinois University of Carbondale, and they have a program, a DEI program, a diversity, equity, inclusion program, and they actually provide free services to come out and train with your staff, and both your executive staff and your summer staff as well. So it's been really a neat opportunity for us, and it was free, so that was a great opportunity.
Great. Thank you all. One last question about how you are handling meal time. And I know, Laura, you touched on that a little bit, and Eric, you did also. Tony and Aaron, I don't know if your camps provide meals, if you have different thoughts about that.
We do, and the way that we decided to handle it, should we open or would have opened, was to reduce the number of people at meals. So we have the wonderful luxury of already having a model where we're running 2 camps simultaneously, but they don't mix. And so we just stagger meal times. Our kitchen is very used to that, so doing that is perfect. So it reduces the number of people that would be in the dining hall, reducing table capacity by 50% or more, and spacing those tables out. We're planning to have, we're calling them picnic meals, where kids would come through basically a buffet line that is served to them, or a cafeteria line is the better way to put that, I guess. But meal is served to them, or it's a grab and go, and then they're headed outside to eat in a designated spot, so that it basically just spreads everybody out. That, again, we have issues with the heat every once in a while too, so being able to rotate potentially who's in and out of the dining hall allows us to do that in kind of a creative way, and make sure it's not everybody getting the short end of the stick. But then the other side of that is sanitizing like crazy, the whole dining hall being wiped down before and after meals. That's our approach that we took with everything. It's just a double check, second layer of protection there by doing it before and after.
Great. Well, I'm gonna move us forward. Oh yeah, go ahead, Laura.
These are good for cold water too, and just have them around to spray the kids. We're going to be using these a lot this summer. We'll have to label them: hand sanitizer, water.
Different colors, baby. Different colors. Yeah.
Take a second to show off. My co-directors have been hard at work making some cool masks that are fun, and the counselors got to pick out their fabric so that they'll be more likely to do it. But all the counselors do have to wear masks, and the kids, we're not going to make them. If they do, it's okay. We're going to normalize it. But Joann's has a lot of really fun fabric, and So we're gonna have, it's kind of like nurses scrubs instead of the medical ones. So it'll be a less kind of a scary thing. So, and then when they're outside, they won't have to wear them. But for inside they will. There's one with owls. Everyone loves owls in this crowd.
Those are awesome, Laura.
Mad props. This is Amy. She's my co-director. She's going to be at one of the sites, and then I have another co-director at the other site. So.
Great.
Just want to show that. Just want to brag a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great.
So just one last slide in Menti about how you're feeling now about your options. Maybe you've gained some knowledge. Maybe you're still feeling the same way, but you know, hopefully you've gotten some good ideas, and maybe this has helped a little bit. So that's what we are really hoping for, is that we're sharing with our community all of our knowledge. Looks like some people are still feeling anxious. It's just a lot. Some of those checklists for reopening are quite extensive, and when you look at that, it seems very daunting. So kudos to you all who are opening and have done those checklists and gone through. Really appreciate that. Well, it's 1:01, so I just want to honor everybody's time and make sure we're not keeping everybody too long. I wanted to thank you to our panelists for being here today. Thanks for taking the time and being part of this, and experimenting with AEE with this resource and how this would work. So I really appreciate each of you for doing that. If you can, take a look at our website. Again, we've been working really hard to provide resources, and you can go to www.ae.org. You can donate from that website if you've been enjoying these webinars and maybe have some funds to provide us. That would be great. We are a nonprofit, and we have been working really hard to provide lots of free resources. You can become a member at that website. So membership in our association gets you this amazing group of folks and really good friends. I know Eric and Laura met through here, and I met Laura through AEE, and it's just lovely to have like-minded people and people who are doing the hard work out there. So you can become a member of AEE. You can find lots of free resources, and you can follow us on social media. We have been working really hard to keep that up too. I know everybody has in this time to keep people informed and tell everybody what's happening. But again, thank you all for joining us, and thank you to our panelists. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.